Hello, I'm Emma Webb, and I'm here at the ARC conference, and I'm joined now by Peter Bogosian, the author and philosopher. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks,
so,
Emma.
one of the things that you are most known for is your Street Epistemology, and you've been doing that here at the conference, haven't you?
I have. So out back, I don't know if you can see it, but we have matched strongly, agree, slightly agree, neutral, and on the other side, and we bring random people from the conference up. Anybody can come up. And we ask them what they believe, why they believe, what they're hopeful about, issues that concern them, how those issues should be dealt with. And then ideally would have people who they're mats that we have. They'd stand on different lines, and then we ask them to have a conversation with each other.
And why for our audience, why are you doing that? What's the benefit of that? What's the aim of doing Street Epistemology? Because you're doing it here at the conference, but you also do it in a number of different cities around the US and Europe.
Do it. Yeah. Well, first of all, it helps facilitate dialogue among people who disagree. Second of all, one of the things that I've been doing that I find just absolutely fascinating is when someone stands on the strongly agree and another person stands on the strongly disagree. So say the claim is, like today we talked about overpopulation, that the earth is overpopulated. Someone stood on the strongly agree, someone stood on the strongly disagree. We asked them to write down their best reason for why they believe that. We did this at Stratford Station, is that the name of it?
Yeah.
For the Israeli-Palestinian problem, the two-state solution is the best solution. Strongly agree, write down your best reason for that, and then I try to guess what, so you hold it close to your chest. I try to guess what your reason is, you try to guess what my reason is. And what's fascinating about those exercises, and I did them with two religious leaders here, a priest and a minister, about belief in God. You know, what is your best reason for believing? In no case could anybody guess what the best reason for why someone else would believe that was.
Do you think that that's cultural, or that's something that is inherently human, that difficulty in trying to put yourself in somebody else's position rationally?
I don't think that's inherently human at all. I think it's almost strictly culturally, and I think it's because we've not been talking to each other. Our institutions have failed us, particularly our academic institutions where this should have been taught. We're not taught two sides of the issue, which is incredibly problematic. But just think about what another level of complexity it is to solve a problem like the Israeli-Palestinian problem, when I say something like, is the two-state solution the best answer to our problems? Someone says they strongly agree, someone strongly disagree, and nobody can guess why the other person would think that.
Do you think this is one of the reasons why people seem to, I mean, it's almost the Twittification of society, but people talk past each other because there's no sense of understanding or assumption that the other person is rational. So it's easier to demonize that person because you're not presuming that they hold a different position because they have reasoned themselves to a different conclusion, but rather the presumption is that there is something wrong with that person, and therefore you end up talking past each other.
Correct. That's not the reason for this, but that is correct. It's not that they are missing a piece of information, it's that they're a bad person. This is something very different is operative here. And what that something is, I'm not exactly sure I have a general idea of what it is, but I will say that it is disheartening to me.
A lot of the conversations at this conference have revolved around either directly or tangentially around education.
Correct.
And obviously this is something that from a very young age children need to be educated. If this is a cultural issue, this is an issue to do with reasoning and communication.
Correct.
How would you suggest embedding that kind of process into the curriculum? Is that something that you think we should be doing?
That's a great question. The first order of business would be to teach people how to falsify their ideas, to teach people to value reason and evidence. But what is the most important thing is falsification. You can embed in through in the United States, it's K through 12 curricula and educational system, the idea that it's extraordinarily important to not only give reasons for why you believe what you believe, but how those beliefs could be wrong. And right now we're really not doing that. That goes. We do that in the sciences, right? When we test things, but why wouldn't you do that in other domains as well?
Do you think that one of the reasons why we've seen this, particularly over the last 3 weeks or so since everything that happened on the 7th of October in Israel, that this we've seen it previously with the identity politics, that Western societies, and particularly the Anglophone countries, have descended into this kind of febrile irrationality? Do you think that is primarily an educational issue, or are there other things that you would sort of see as sort of integral to diagnosing what the problem is there? Do you think that that's the reason why we are seeing what we're seeing on our streets?
Well, you're seeing a few things on the streets. In what aspect you mean? Like what aspect?
So we're seeing it at the moment with Israel and Palestine, but we also saw it with Black Lives Matter. We've seen it with trans ideology as well. These very febrile protests, very often they involve criminal damage. We saw the same thing with climate activists as well, that there is this kind of highly ideological and anti-rational process taking place.
It's highly ideological, you're correct, and the question becomes, back to your original question, what do we do about it? Like, what's a prophylactic to that, to people just succumbing to ideology? One of the things is learning the other side, understanding how to falsify it, understanding how your ideas could be wrong, teaching people to value what's true. And so these are just large-scale, the whole trans thing, you mentioned the trans issue. These are just broad ideologies which have captured large swaths of the population. And the question is, what do we do about them? Because we almost have a backward roadmap. And then to what it's your other question about what we should do is, we are living in echo chambers. We're living in a big, one could say this is an echo chamber, right? I mean, have there been any debates? Have there been anybody on the other side? I don't know, maybe the point is to just rally the troops, but it would seem that you would want some kind of a modeling process to say, listen, we're pro-Western values. Part of that is free speech, and we're going to bring in people with whom we have substantive disagreements, and we're going to explore those disagreements. Maybe we're going to explore them through fireside chats. Maybe they're going to be Lincoln Douglas debates, maybe Oxford-style debates, but something where we're going to show that we're walking the walk, to show that our values are embedded in the processes we have. That's what I'd like to see.
So a lot of the conversations that have been taking place at this conference, and one of the threads running through it, has been very much focused on sort of narrative and stories that we tell about ourselves as a society, social cohesion, mending the social fabric. Just finally, very quickly, do you think that this problem that we're describing, this ideological problem, will be solved primarily through storytelling, through positive, optimistic storytelling, or do you think that it's actually something to do with rational processes that we need to somehow educate ourselves into, almost civilize ourselves to have these kind of conversations more rationally, that there's actually at the heart of this, there's a sort of there's a philosophical bug in the code almost, that's the thing that needs to be fixed rather than the narrative, the story, or is it a bit of both?
You're a good interviewer, you ask good questions. I think stories have almost nothing to do with it. So you get a lot of variables. First, you have wide-scale capture of institutions, ideological capture of institutions, media and academic institutions being by far the worst. The second is that if somebody doesn't value something, how do you help them value things that lead to their own flourishing? It's a complicated question. How do you help people develop dispositions to value truth, to value evidence, to value belief revision, to value the idea that you should seek out a way to falsify your beliefs, the idea that it's good to get out of an echo chamber, the idea that, I just was at Battle of Ideas. I didn't go to all the panels, but I did not hear a Battle of Ideas. Like, I didn't hear anybody substantively disagree. Like, I went to a panel on should critical race theory be taught in schools? And I would love to have heard one person say, it should be, and here's why. And I think it's so easy to sit in an echo chamber and listen to people you disagree with. And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad. There are some times we just want to be around like-minded people and kvetch or what have you. But I do think that if you're going to claim to be on the side of free speech, if you want to claim that truth is important and finding solutions to our problems are important, then you have to act in such a way that you do want it, as opposed to your just verbal behavior and saying that you want it. And the best way to do that would be to genuinely listen to alternative points of view and have conversations across philosophical and political divides.
I think that's a very constructive takeaway. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.